Stick around because today I'm showing you the 11 emergency foods every frugal prepper should have, whether you're preparing for a blackout, a budget crunch, or full-blown chaos. Some of them might surprise you, and one of them is probably already in your cupboard. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm David, and I've spent the last few months diving deep into what real budget-friendly preparedness looks like. I combed through survivalist forums, talked to seasoned preppers, and even studied food storage techniques from the Great Depression era. Yes, people were prepping long before it was trendy. What I found, you don't need to break the bank to be ready for anything, whether it's a hurricane, a job loss, or just the next time your local store runs out of eggs again. In this video, I'm giving you a no-nonsense list of emergency foods that won't cost a fortune, last for years, and can literally keep your family fed when life gets unpredictable. Some of these items are hiding in your pantry right now. Others, you might never have considered until today. So grab a snack, maybe even one from this list, and let's get into it. Oh, and while you're watching, drop a comment below. What's the weirdest shortage or price hike you've seen lately? Flour, eggs, canned beans? Let's see if we're all losing our minds together. Let's kick off our list with something that might already be sitting in your pantry right now. Canned beans? Yep, those humble little cans of black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, you name it. They may not look like much, but when disaster hits, whether it's a hurricane, a power outage, or just another week where your budget is tighter than your jeans after Thanksgiving, so you call them, beans are your best friend. First off, they're super cheap. You can grab a few cans for under $1 at most stores. That makes them one of the most budget-friendly sources of protein out there. And if you're prepping on a tight wallet, that's huge. But here's the kicker. Not only are they affordable, they're also loaded with nutrients. Protein, fiber, iron, potassium, all the good stuff you need to stay strong and healthy when life gets weird. And trust me, during an emergency, you don't want to be running low on energy. They're also incredibly versatile. Want chili, beans, tacos, beans, rice and beans, double beans. You can mash them, boil them, fry them. Heck, you could probably build a whole month's worth of meals around canned beans alone. And then there's the shelf life. Store them properly, and these bad boys can last up to 5 years, sometimes even longer. Just make sure the cans aren't dented, rusted, or bulging. Those are red flags. Otherwise, you're golden. Now, here's the fun part. If the world ends tomorrow and you somehow survive, at least you'll be regular. Because beans, they keep things moving, if you know what I mean. So while others are stressing over food shortages and rationing snacks like it's the Great Depression 2.0, you'll be sitting pretty with a can of beans, a spoon, and a full digestive system. Seriously though, don't underestimate the power of this pantry staple. It's simple, it's smart, and it's one of the easiest ways to start building your emergency food stash without breaking the bank. Let's keep going, because number 10 might surprise you. Oatmeal, rolled oats. Now, let's talk about something that might bring back memories from your childhood. Oatmeal, that warm, mushy, sometimes slightly sticky breakfast staple you used to eat at school or on chilly camping mornings. Yeah, that stuff. And guess what? It's not just for breakfast anymore, especially when you're prepping for emergencies. Oatmeal is one of those foods that checks almost every box. Cheap, filling, long shelf life, and super versatile. You can buy a huge container of rolled oats for just a few bucks, and it'll last you years if stored properly. That makes it a total win for anyone trying to prep on a budget. In a crisis, calories matter, and oatmeal packs a punch. It's full of complex carbs, fiber, and even some protein. So whether you're recovering from a long day of hauling water or just trying to stay full between meals, oats have your back. And here's the bonus. You don't have to eat them like porridge. You can use them in all kinds of emergency-friendly recipes. Bake homemade granola bars with a little honey and nuts, mix them into pancake batter if you still have access to a stove, or just eat them dry like trail mix if things get really wild. Let's be real. Most of us remember those instant oatmeal packets they used to hand out in school cafeterias. You know the ones. Flavors like maple, which definitely didn't taste like maple, but you ate it anyway because it was hot and it filled your stomach. 9. Peanut butter. Let's talk about something that almost everyone loves. Peanut butter. Yes, that creamy or crunchy, no judgment here, jar of comfort food magic. You probably already have one in your pantry, but what you might not realize is that peanut butter isn't just a snack. It's also a prepper's dream come true. First off, it's packed with calories. That's a good thing when you're trying to survive an emergency, and every bite counts. It gives you energy, healthy fats, and even a decent amount of protein for a plant-based food. And get this, If stored properly, peanut butter can last for up to a year unopened, sometimes even longer. Natural peanut butter without preservatives won't last quite as long, but regular store-bought stuff, that's shelf-stable gold. The best part? You don't need to cook it, no stove, no problem. Just grab a spoon and go to town. In fact, during a blackout or after a storm, cracking open a jar of PB might be the most satisfying meal you've had all week. It's also super versatile. Spread it on crackers, mix it into oatmeal for extra flavor, or pair it with jelly for a classic sandwich combo that stood the test of time. And let's be honest, when things are stressful, chaotic, or just plain scary, there's something oddly comforting about eating peanut butter straight from the jar while listening to the wind howl outside. It's like a warm hug for your taste buds, and a high-calorie one at that. So whether you're dealing with a natural disaster, a job loss, or just a really bad day, peanut butter is one of those foods that feels like a small luxury, even in tough times. Trust me, in a world where canned beans are gourmet and water is rationed, having a backup jar of peanut butter will feel like striking gold. But 8. Dried pasta. All right, let's talk about something that's been around since before your grandma learned how to boil water. Dried pasta. Yes, that box of spaghetti or elbow macaroni hiding in the back of your cabinet. It might not look like much, but in an emergency situation, it could be one of your most valuable pantry items. First off, dried pasta is incredibly cheap. You can buy a big box for less than $1, sometimes even less if it's on sale. And considering how filling it is and how many meals you can make from one box, that's some serious bang for your buck. But here's what really makes pasta a prepper favorite. Its shelf life. Most store-bought dried pasta has a shelf life of 1 to 2 years, but if stored properly in airtight containers or Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, it can last up to 10 years or more. That's wild when you think about it. You could buy a bag of pasta today, forget about it for a decade, and it'll still be good when you crack it open during your post-apocalyptic dinner party. And pasta is super versatile. Need a quick meal? Boil it and toss with whatever sauce or oil you've got. Got some canned tomatoes and peanut butter from earlier on this list? You've got yourself a weird but totally edible meal. Pasta also plays well with others. Mix it with beans, add some canned tuna or chicken, or just drizzle with olive oil and salt. Boom, you've got a complete meal. Plus, let's not forget, pasta is comfort food. In stressful times, when the power's out and the world feels like it's upside down, there's something oddly reassuring about a warm bowl of spaghetti. It reminds us of simpler times, family dinners, school lunches, that weird phase where you tried to eat ramen noodles dry like they were chips. So next time you're at the store and see a big value pack of pasta on sale, throw it in your cart. You don't need a reason, except maybe survival. 107. Bouillon cubes, beignet powder. All right, let's talk about something you might not expect to see on this list. Bouillon cubes and powdered broth. Yep, those little flavor bombs that come in a box or jar and make even plain rice taste like a 5-star meal. You probably don't think of them as survival food, but trust me, in an emergency situation, these tiny guys are huge. Here's why. They're super lightweight, take up almost no space, and last for years if stored properly. That makes them perfect for prepping without cluttering up your pantry. But the real magic? Flavor. When the world goes sideways and you're stuck eating canned beans and pasta every day, having something to spice things up makes all the difference. Bouillon cubes and powder can turn a pot of plain rice into something savory, add depth to soups made from whatever you've got lying around, or even be used to rehydrate and season dried meats or veggies. They're also incredibly easy to use. No need to open a heavy can or worry about spoilage. Just drop a cube in boiling water or stir in a spoonful of powder. Instant upgrade. 6. Canned. You know, the kind that come diced, crushed, or whole in a can, probably stacked somewhere near your beans and pasta. You might not think of them as emergency food, but in a survival situation, they're way more valuable than you'd expect. First off, canned tomatoes are super useful. They're the base for so many meals: chili, pasta sauces, soups, stews, even rice dishes. Without them, a lot of your emergency meals would be pretty bland. And when you're eating out of a can day after day, flavor matters more than ever. But it's not just about taste. Canned tomatoes also bring some serious nutrition to the table. They're rich in vitamin C, potassium, and lycopene, which is an antioxidant linked to all kinds of health benefits. So while you're surviving on shelf-stable foods, Tomatoes help make sure you're still getting some of the good stuff your body needs. And here's the best part. Most canned tomatoes have a shelf life of 1 to 5 years, sometimes even longer if stored properly. That means once you stock up, you don't have to worry about them going bad anytime soon. Plus, they require zero cooking if things go sideways. Just crack open the can, grab a spoon, and boom, you've got yourself a semi-fancy snack. Sure, it's not exactly restaurant quality, but it beats eating dry crackers again. Let's be real. During emergencies, having access to fresh produce is rare. That's why canned tomatoes are such a smart addition to your pantry. They give you that fresh food boost without needing refrigeration or prep time. Back in the day, before supermarkets and delivery apps, people relied on canned goods like tomatoes to get through harsh winters and food shortages. And honestly, we could all use a little of that old school wisdom today. So next time you see a sale on canned tomatoes, grab a few extra cans. Your future self will thank you when you're whipping up a pot of tomato-based stew during the next big blackout. We're really flying through this list now. And up next is something that's not just healthy. It might actually keep you healthier in the long run. Number 5, brown rice. Let's talk about something that might not seem exciting at first glance. Brown rice. Yeah, I know, it's not as flashy as peanut butter or as nostalgic as canned tomatoes, but when you're prepping for emergencies, brown rice is one of those quiet heroes that does more than you'd expect. First off, it's nutrient dense. Unlike white rice, which gets stripped of most of its nutrients during processing, brown rice still has the bran and germ intact. That means more fiber, more vitamins, and more minerals. All things you definitely want when fresh food isn't an option. It's also filling. A single serving of cooked brown rice can keep you satisfied for hours, which is huge when you're trying to stretch every meal as far as it can go. And since it's so lightweight and compact, you can store a lot of it without taking up too much space. Now, let's talk shelf life. If stored properly, like in airtight containers or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, brown rice can last up to 6 months to a year, sometimes even longer in cooler conditions. That's not quite as long as white rice, sure, but what you lose in storage time, you gain in nutrition. And here's the bonus. Brown rice is super versatile. Need a base for some canned beans or leftover chicken? Rice to the rescue. Want to make a hearty stir fry with whatever veggies you've got? Yep, rice again. It's one of those foods that plays well with almost everything. Let's be honest, during tough times, comfort matters. And there's something oddly grounding about a warm bowl of rice, especially when the world feels unpredictable. It's simple, reliable, and familiar. Back in the day, rice was a staple in households around the world, and for good reason. It filled bellies, stretched budgets, and kept people going through hard times. And guess what? That same logic still works today. So if you're building out your emergency pantry and haven't given brown rice a second thought, now's the time to rethink it. It's not just filler, it's fuel. On number 4, popcorn kernels, something that might not immediately scream emergency food. Popcorn kernels. Yep, you read that right. Not the microwave bags, not the pre-popped stuff in snack size bags. We're talking about the raw, unpopped kernels you usually only think about when movie night rolls around. But here's the thing. Popcorn is more than just a buttery theater snack. In a survival situation, these little guys are like tiny bundles of joy hiding in your pantry. First off, they're incredibly lightweight and compact, which makes them perfect for storage. You can pack a lot of kernels into a small space without worrying about bulk or weight. And if stored properly, in airtight containers or sealed mylar bags, popcorn kernels can last for several years without losing their popping power. 3, canned tuna chicken. All right, let's talk about something that comes straight from the can and is basically survival gold, canned tuna and chicken. You know the drill. You open the can, grab a fork, or just eat it straight from the container like a post-apocalyptic gourmet, and boom, instant protein. No cooking, no prep, no stress, just real filling food when you need it most. These little cans are like portable meals. Whether you're dealing with a blackout, a hurricane, or just another week where your fridge is emptier than a ghost town, having a few cans of tuna or chicken tucked away is like holding a get out of hunger free card. And here's why they're so good for prepping. They pack a serious protein punch. That's huge when fresh meat isn't an option. Protein keeps you full longer, helps maintain muscle, and gives you energy. All things you want when life gets unpredictable. Plus, they last for years if stored properly. Most canned tuna and chicken has a shelf life of 3 to 5 years, sometimes even longer. Just make sure the cans aren't dented, rusted, or swollen. Those are red flags. Now, let's talk versatility. These cans are not just for eating plain, though honestly that works too. Mix tuna into pasta for a quick meal. Add chicken to a rice bowl. Make a makeshift sandwich with crackers or whatever bread you've got. You can stretch one can into 2 meals if you're smart about it. Back in the day, canned meats were a lifesaver during wars, depressions, and times when fresh food was hard to come by. And guess what? They still are. Number 2, honey. Let's talk about something that feels like it came straight out of a fairy tale. Honey, yes, that golden sticky stuff you put on toast or stir into tea. You probably already have a jar somewhere in your kitchen, but what you might not realize is that honey isn't just sweet. It's also one of the most survival-ready foods you can stockpile. Here's the big secret. Honey never spoils. That's right. Scientists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are thousands of years old and still perfectly edible. Think about that for a second. The stuff is basically immortal. So if you're prepping for emergencies, honey is like liquid gold in your pantry. It doesn't go bad. It doesn't need refrigeration. Just seal it up tight and forget about it until you need it, which could be 5 years from now or 50. But here's why it's so useful beyond just lasting forever. Honey is packed with calories, natural sugars, and even has some antioxidants. It gives you energy fast, which is huge when you're trying to stretch every meal or survive off minimal resources. Salt. Let's wrap up our list with something so simple, so everyday, you might not even think of it as emergency food. But trust me, salt deserves the top spot for a reason. Yes, salt. That tiny shaker on your kitchen table, that bag in your pantry, that ancient mineral that's been around since before humans figured out how to use fire. Salt is more than just seasoning, it's essential for survival. First off, your body needs salt to function. It helps regulate fluids, keeps your muscles working, and supports nerve function. Without enough of it, you'll start feeling weak, dizzy, or worse. In an emergency situation where clean water and balanced meals are scarce, having salt on hand could literally save your life. But here's what makes it a prepper's dream. It never goes bad. Salt has an unlimited shelf life. As long as it stays dry, it'll be just as good in 10 years as it is today. You don't need special storage, no fancy packaging, just keep it sealed and you're good. And let's talk about its other superpowers. Preservation. Back before refrigerators existed, people used salt to cure meat and keep it from rotting. If the power goes out for weeks or months, knowing how to preserve food with salt could mean the difference between eating well and going hungry. Salt also boosts flavor like nothing else. When most of your emergency meals come from cans and dry goods, a little sprinkle can turn bland into bearable or even delicious. Suddenly, that bowl of rice doesn't feel so boring. That can of beans tastes like something worth eating. Historically, salt was so valuable it was used as currency. In fact, the word salary comes from the Latin word salarium, the money Roman soldiers were paid so they could buy salt. So if you ever find yourself in a world without cash, salt might just be your new form of payment. So next time you're at the store and see a big container of salt on sale, grab it. Not just because it's cheap, but because it's one of the most powerful tools you can have in your emergency pantry. We've made it through the full list, from beans to bouillon, popcorn to peanut butter, and yes, even salt. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you never miss another tip on how to eat well, save money, and stay ready.